Cheers, guys. Let's talk college. This, as a lot of you guys know, is something that I have mixed emotions about it. I think it is really good for some different things, but it's not necessarily good for everyone. Let's dive right into it and talk about my personal experience. So, my personal experience, if you haven't heard before, with college is that I actually ended up going for about a year and a half. So, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, and I wanted to change whenever I was done with high school. I wanted to go somewhere that I haven't been. I wanted to get out of that city and go somewhere different. So, whenever I wanted to do that, college was the next option. It wasn't necessarily going to be a good idea to go to a different city if I didn't have something to do right away. And honestly, whenever I was leaving high school, I didn't even consider not going to school. It was not even something that crossed my mind. So I ended up going to school. I left Pittsburgh. I went to DePaul University Film School. And I thought film school was going to be a great path for me. I would go to my 4 years of film school, get out of there, and then do what I want to do. I would maybe go into the music space. Maybe I would go into the social media space. I wasn't really sure, but I knew that I didn't necessarily want to go the cinema film route. I didn't necessarily want to make movies because there's just so much BS that goes into it. Now, I wouldn't actually be opposed to making a movie. I wouldn't be opposed to making a documentary. I think it would be really cool. But at the time, that's not what I wanted. And so I went to school, and very quickly I realized that film school was weird. I realized that there's a lot of superficial people, and I realized that it just wasn't necessarily for me. It was for people that wanted to go that movie route. I don't even watch movies. I might sound crazy when I say that, but I do not watch TV shows or movies. I've watched very little in my entire life. It's just not what I enjoy doing on an everyday basis. Some people enjoy that. I'm not one of them. So, whenever I got to film school, I realized that it was kind of weird, and I I just didn't enjoy it. Everyone was talking about all these different directors that they enjoyed watching their movies, and I didn't have one in mind. My favorite director was somebody who would direct music videos. I would bring up the Chainsmokers videographers whenever I would talk about my favorite directors. And that sounded crazy to a lot of people, but that's what I wanted to do. That's still what I want to do. I want to get into that space. I don't necessarily want to make a Scorsese film. But let's talk about more college as a whole. I think there is value to it. There's value to it, obviously, if you're in certain fields. That's what everyone always comes back to. If you want to be a doctor, you really don't have a choice. Doctors, lawyers, people like that, you don't have a choice. And honestly, if you want to go into education too, you don't really have a choice. That was actually something that I struggled with whenever I was dropping out. And I mentioned this in the last episode that I always thought I wanted to be a teacher before I picked up a camera. And even whenever I was going to film school, I was like, maybe I'll go into film and then I'll have my degree so I could always be a professor or I could be a high school teacher. I would love to be like a high school photography teacher or something like that and really try and make an impact on some people's lives. But I realized that that's not what I wanted to do right now. And some people might say, well, you have to think more long term. You can't always think very short term. It's not how I work. Whether you like it or not, that's just not how I'm wired. I think about the moment. I think about what's going to make me happy right now because, frankly, whatever I do right now is going to affect my life down the road. I want to be happy right now because I don't want to look back on the year that I was 21 years old thinking, holy shit, I should have done something different. I want to do what I think is right now and just act on it. You got to shift. You got to always shift in different directions. And you'll probably end up getting to a point that you really enjoy because you took those risks down the line. College is really good for different people. College is good for, like I said, doctors, lawyers, people that want to do those higher status positions, people that want to be even a teacher so that they can educate younger people. It's great. But it's also good for people that don't necessarily know what they want to do with their life. And people might not agree with me whenever I say this, but I think that's a really good thing to consider. If you don't know what you want to do, Maybe you do community college and take some courses there. Maybe you even just go into college undeclared. I know so many people that change majors throughout the course of school. It's insane. You can go to school for one thing and then end up finishing. As long as you figure out what you want to do by probably like your junior year, you'll be good. You don't need to worry about exactly what you want to do right away. And that's the beauty of college. It's 4 years. People might complain that it's too long, that you have to take all these BS classes. But in those BS classes, you end up meeting people that maybe are doing things that you're interested in. Maybe you meet somebody who is going into something, you're like, wow, that sounds cool. And then you look into it, and that's what you end up doing. It's the beauty of having those 4 years to make those relationships. It's the nice thing about having a whole different friend group whenever you go to college. I made all new friends here, and that opened me up to all new perspectives. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I had these people around me that pushed me to do these things that I was wanting to do. Now, I think that if you don't know what you want to do, maybe go in declaring business, communications, one of these general majors, because I know a lot of people, that's what they end up doing, and it works out for them. You can get a business degree, and at the end of the day, if you get that degree, you can do damn near anything. Not many places look at college on your resume, but if they do, all they're looking at is that if you had a degree. You could have a degree in anything, and as long as you can say that you have that undergrad degree, it's going to look good. It's going to be okay for the employer. There's still employers, the big companies out there that still want to see a college degree, and if you have a degree in literally anything, it will help you. You can have a degree in jazz studies. And if you are getting a business job, they might not actually look at what your degree is in. They might just look at that you went to DePaul University. That might sound crazy, but it's actually the truth. In my industry, nobody looks at degree. And I knew that, and that's what led me to dropping out. But it's all situational. Some people value comfort more than I do. I don't necessarily value being super comfortable, but some people like having the fact that they have that college degree as a backup. A backup that I think I have now. I don't have a degree, but I have enough work that I could go get a job at a lot of different media agencies and I would be all right. But having that backup plan, having that plan B, maybe it gives you the peace of mind that you need. But I don't think it's necessarily worth going into that much debt if you're just using it as backup plan. If you want to end up doing your own thing, it's not necessarily worth it. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you're probably not going to learn much about entrepreneurship in college. You can take these different entrepreneurship classes and stuff, but it's so much just real world application. It's so much just messing up. You're going to mess up. You're going to really do some stupid stuff that you're going to learn from. And at the end of the day, that's the beauty of it. Anything that you do, you might think you know a lot right now, but in 3 years, I bet you look back and you're like, God damn, I knew nothing about what I thought I knew. But that's okay. That's the fun of it. That's what makes it exciting. And whenever you're considering college, just think about what do you maybe want to do and act on that. If you have this slight idea that you want to be a teacher, then go to school. You might end up shifting. If you have a slight idea, I want to be a lawyer. That looks really cool. I know somebody that's a lawyer. I really like them. I talk to them. It sounds kind of nice. Go into that. Do whatever path you want to do right now, and you can always shift. Whenever you're in college, you really have no commitment to your major until you get later down the road. Granted, if you're a junior or senior in college, it's going to be a little bit tougher to shift your major because you've already taken your specific classes so that you can complete that specific major. But go and try something. If you don't know what to do, just give it a shot. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe somebody's pushing you to do it, but the people pushing you to do it are looking out for your best interest. Hear them out. If you don't want to go to school, then don't go to school. But if you don't want to go to school and the people around you are saying maybe you should give it a try, maybe you should actually consider it because you don't know everything. Especially if you're around my age, if you're 18, you're about to go into school. Consider what people around you are saying. Whenever I was considering dropping out of school, I did think about not doing it because a lot of people around me were saying that I shouldn't. And At the end of the day, I knew what I wanted to do, so I ended up doing it. I proved to the people closest to me that I could make it work, and they believed in me. And here we are, and I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing what I expected to do. I'm doing what I always wanted to do. And I just think that college can be really good. People like to talk shit on formal education now, but it's a good thing. It can give you guidance. It can put you in the right direction for what you actually end up doing. And that's a beautiful thing. A lot of people aren't blessed with what I've been blessed with knowing what they actually want to do and how they want to go about their life. But college can help you go in that direction. You might meet somebody that'll help you go in the right direction. You might meet somebody that puts you on and brings you under their wing, and you end up doing that. You never know who you're going to meet. College is so valuable for the relationships that you'll make. I would say maybe even just as much as the education. That might sound crazy. It might not be worth it to pay $30,000 a year just to make friends, but at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people are doing. College is known for going to a lot of parties. You meet a lot of different people, but there is value in that if you structure it in the right way. It can be a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing. You just got to be smart about it. You're going to make some friendships that will last a lifetime. You're going to meet people that you might not necessarily be close to right now, but maybe down the road they end up doing something similar to you do, and you'll be best friends. You'll be business partners. A perfect example of that is my friend John and Zach. They own Indoor Drone Tours. They own Doula. And they went to high school together, and they knew each other in high school, but they weren't necessarily best friends. Fast forward to today, they own a company together. They run a business every day together, and they work well together. You never know who these people that you're meeting, you never know how the relationship's going to form with them. Maybe you'll forget about them and never see them again. That's probably what will happen with most relationships, but you don't want to burn bridges because you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe that person will bring you on for a gig. Maybe they'll be opening a business, and maybe they'll ask you to help them out with it. You want to be that good person in people's lives. You want to make these relationships that will last a lifetime. If you're considering college, really give it some thought. I'm not saying don't go to school, but I don't personally regret going to school. I don't regret going because I made a lot of these good friends that I'm talking about. I made a lot of these good relationships that allowed me to get to a point where dropping out actually seemed like a good option. I would not have dropped out after my freshman year because I didn't know anyone. I didn't really have any work. But fast forward a year from then, I ended up dropping out. I thought it was the craziest idea at first, and it was kind of a joke at first, but I ended up doing it. You make these relationships that help you and push you in the right direction, and it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.